the Nigeria of our dreams. I think that before we go into the topic proper, it is important to note that Nigeria is a beautiful country. Yeah, sure. And Nigeria has wonderful people as citizens of the country. I come from South. I attended the University of Benin, the best university south of Sahara. Also in South. You are a lion. We are human beings. Okay. I did my youth service in Southeast. I lived in Southwest Lagos for 4 years. I lived in Northeast for 12 years. And I've been living in North Central, Abuja now, since the year 2004, when I joined ActionAid, for 20 years. So I can speak about this country. For those of us in ActionAid staff within the international ActionAid family, they are unique. Whether it's an ActionAid country director or any person who works in the international system, who said he worked as a Africa governance coordinator, or people who left ActionAid Nigeria and went into the international, like Oga Taiwo and Tayo. They performed excellently well. If you look at every sector in the world, not just Nigeria, Nigerians are doing extremely well. In those days, globally, we don't even know who is the Deputy Director General of the United Nations. But since Amina Mohammed became Deputy Director General of the United Nations all over the world, or is it Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as Director General of the World Trade Organization, or Dr. Femi Adesina and the African Development Bank. Even if you go into the professions, Dr. Samuel Nabule just ended his tenure as the world president of medical association all over the world. From 2018 to 2022, Comrade Aiba Waba was the global president of International Confederation of Trade Unions. Even our police, when they go to international assignments, they come back with medals. But when it comes to politics, when it comes to governance, it appears we bring the worst among us to become the leaders, which has made it impossible for us to see the Nigeria of our dreams. And when you talk about Nigeria of our dreams, to me, there are 4 key defining characteristics from Nigeria of our dreams. A Nigeria that is prosperous, a Nigeria that is inclusive, a Nigeria that is united, and a Nigeria that is just. So the Nigeria of our dreams is a prosperous, inclusive, united, and just Nigeria. And we can deduce these four characteristics from the motto of our country and from the national anthem that we have sung. Because those things contain the collective aspirations of our people. And in the old national anthem, you hear about one nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. In the old national anthem, you hear to build a nation where peace and justice reign. You know, we're saying shall reign because some people say no shall not in future. We should remove the shall and say where it reigns. The former old national anthem, now the new one, Nigeria we build it. It talks about that truth and justice reign. And it talks about help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty. So if you look at all this, you see that they are talking about a prosperous, inclusive, united, and just Nigeria. I think the big question is, how can we achieve the Nigeria of our dreams? There are 8 areas that I think we can focus upon to achieve the Nigeria of our dreams. Number 1 is visionary leadership, good followership, and just and accountable governance. We have been quite unlucky as a country that we have never had a visionary leader to mobilize the energies of the good people of Nigeria to lead to development. I'm sure all of us here watch international news, CNN. I don't know whether you have ever seen the president of any country saying we will build road, we will build hospital, we will provide water. Oh, we will share that, we will bring palliatives. The president. 2 days ago, our president commissioned 30 buses. 30! 30! Not a cabinet president commissioned 30 buses. We need visionary leadership. The role of a leader is to come and mobilize people, to get people into action. No government can give employment to everybody. But the speech, the policies, the issues that the president raises, we mobilize people into action. But we don't have that. So unfortunate. And you know, they don't even know what to do. During the last regime, immediately after Buhari and Professor Sibajo went into office, just after, within the first 1 month, I led the delegation to meet Professor Yemi Shibajo. And I said, look, sir, we have come to advocate on 2 issues. Nigeria needs a long-term development plan. All the countries of the world that are making progress in development plan, like China, like India, like, Brazil, they all, Botswana, they all have long-term development plans. And number 2, corruption is a big have a holistic approach to fighting corruption. And he said, no, the problem of Nigeria is not a development plan. The problem is implementation. And it took them 7 years to realize that development plan is important. And when they were leaving, they did the Nigeria 2050. And this new administration now, nobody is talking about that plan. They have come with a renewed hope agenda. You can't lead a country with an agenda. So we need visionary leadership. We need good followership. Because we are going to need the followership when we're talking about social movement. I was reading on the social media. Somebody said, you know this giveaway that is very popular now. Somebody wanted to go and give a giveaway. So he said, if we go, all these people hawking things, they will buy from them, and then after paying for what he has bought, you give them 20,000. He was targeting 5 people. So he wanted to test. So he went. The first person, he priced 5 things, 5,000. He said, okay, go and put it in the boot. The person went there, dropped 3 on the ground. He was looking at it from the rear mirror and dropped only 2. He left there, he went to the second person. The person did exactly the same thing. So he just carried his money, he went home and sent it to his mother. So followership. When I was attempting to run for governor of Delta State, and I had a core team that were going with me, and I was giving analysis. I was going from local government to local government, ward to ward, mobilizing people, telling them that look, the money that comes to Delta State, I'm sure you have been budgeted, you know that. Yes. That the money that comes to Delta State can transform Delta State in 4 years. I was giving analysis of the little amount of money that comes to Ekiti and comparing it with what comes to Delta. For instance, the whole of the Ekiti State budget in 2023 was 113 billion. But Delta State was 726 billion. So I was doing analysis and telling them that the problem is that they are stealing things in our government and we will not be stealing. If anybody steals, we will go to jail. That's my statement. Then we reach house one evening. Then one of the people called me and say, okay, wait to uncle. This thing you talk so that true. I said, yes, sir. He said, hey, so this one they follow you so. If you become governor, you will come with us for jail. I said, if you become governor, it's your government now. He said, no, if we do collect contracts, we don't do one. I said, okay, if you collect contract like 100 million, when do you think say will be the profit? He said, government contract is very good. If you give you contract of 100 million, you will get profit like 50 million. I said, okay, if it be like that, you know, say if I did it, I will pay you. So why you don't go to I look me, say your government no go sweet. So we have bad followers. That's what we need to deal with. And then we need just and accountable governance. Number 2 is inclusive growth and economic prosperity. For about 1 decade in Nigeria, from 2004 to 2014, Nigerian economic growth rate was around 7 to 8%. But as the economy was growing, poverty was increasing. Because the political economy of oil dictates that it's a conclave economy. Only few people benefit from it. compare that period to a period of 15 years where China lifted 730 million people out of poverty, and India lifted 170 million people out of poverty. And that is why, at one point in history, Nigeria, with a population of just 1/7 of India or China, hosted the largest number of poor people in the world. How did China and India do it? 3 things. 1, enlightened leadership. 2, active citizenry. And 3, social protection. So, as ActionAid, one of the areas you must take interest is social protection. Because social protection is a veritable way of reducing poverty. And I recommend that every staff should read 100 Years of Social Protection in the World by International Labour Organization, ILO. Number 3, education and human capital development. When I talk about education here, I don't mean just going to school to get a degree. I mean proper education, including political education, where you have critical thinking and critical inquiry. Because, each time I noticed that what they taught me in primary school is what they taught my children. It makes me to be annoyed. Because the first social studies class that I took in 1975 in primary 6 was why Africa remained a dark continent for a long time. And the only sentence was that Africa is considered a dark continent because it is not known to the Europeans. You are teaching me, an African, that my continent is dark because it's not known. And then they taught me that Mongo Park discovered. To discover something is to find out something that is not known. And people were living by the bank of River Niger. They were bathing in River Niger. They were fishing in River Niger. And we are teaching our children, including those people in Africa. The Mongopa discovered their river for them. So, education and human capital development. Number 4 is health and well-being. Number 5 is promotion of peace, security, and unity, including management of diversity. Good countries all over the world recognize that diversity is an advantage. That's why they have green card in the US. That's why Canada is calling some of you to Japan. It's not that they like you. They understand the importance of diversity. We already have that advantage. We don't need to ask people to go. We already have the advantage of diversity. What we lack is proper management of diversity. And one of the challenges is to say there should be religious tolerance. Do you tolerate something you like? You don't like something, but you cannot do anything. Let's just tolerate it. No, what we need is not tolerance. It's respect for each other's religion. I'm a pastor. But many of my best friends are Muslims because I lived in the north for 12 years. We don't In fact, when I do some programs in the church, they come. When they do programs in the mosque, I go. We respect their religion, not tolerating. Number 6 is environmental conservation and dealing with the challenges of climate change. Number 7 is infrastructure and technological development. You know, studies have shown that infrastructure contracts in Nigeria are higher than every other place. Recently, the Minister of FCT announced to us that 1 kilometer road from to Galadimawa is 4 billion per kilometer. The federal government announced to us that they are constructing coastal road from Calabar to Lagos. 1 kilometer is 4 billion. Bayelsa State recently announced that they have completed 1 road. In fact, opposition people say it's not a new road. They rehabilitated 10-kilometer road for 30 billion. So, and over the years, including ActionAid, I've made that advocacy. That development theory and practice teaches us that if you want to develop any country, any society, put all your money, or most of the money, in 4 areas. Education, health, agriculture, and infrastructure. But we have been doing all those advocacy since. Celestine, how much are they budgeting for agriculture? How many percent?
We went down to
1%. 1%. We have been, since my time, I was country head of 20 years ago. We actually started budget work in this country. When we sent the first people to Yobe to do budget work, they went to Ministry of Budget in Yobe and they said they want the state budget. They said we want state budget. So wait, sit down, and they sit down. They called SSS to arrest them. We had to intervene before they were released. That is to tell you because you know I know many of the Gen Z. They are saying that we should go back to the military. You don't know where we are coming from. That to ask, you didn't challenge them. You say, give me a copy of the budget. They were arrested for asking. You know, so what I'm trying to say is that even as things are bad, we are still a good country. There's one country recently, so people want to contest. They just carried 4 of the presidential candidates and put them in jail. They are in jail as we speak right now. This one happened just last week. In Cameroon, sometimes somebody said he wanted to become president. He opened the office, he appointed Director General. The following week, both the president and the Director General, they put them in jail. So we don't do like other Nigerians. They have not read one single book. They have not crossed border once, even by leg. And they will say, it's only in Nigeria that this can happen. So number 8 is development of agriculture and capacity to feed ourselves. I think the greater question is, can we achieve this dream? And my answer is yes, it is achievable. But it requires collective action from all stakeholders. the average Nigerian who, when you say there is corruption in Nigeria, how do we view the corruption? You say bring one leader, make us here. We have seen the result.
Yeah.
Or when you go, they ask you, say, how can you deal with corruption? You say, don't mind it. Tinubu is a useless. All over the world, there are 5 mechanisms to deal with the issues of transparency and accountability. And the challenge is that if anyone is missing, there's trouble. But the problem with Nigeria is that the 5 mechanisms are not working well. The first is internal mechanism within ministries, departments, and agencies. The way to promote accountability is to ensure that every procuring ministry has financial guidelines. They have procurement policies. They have code of ethics. They have monitoring and evaluation framework. So this internal mechanism, without anybody checking, will ensure that things are done properly. The second mechanism is legislative oversight. And this legislative oversight is supposed to happen through the 3 tiers of government: federal, state, and local government. Because since return to civil rule in 1999, the budget is a law. So any expenditure outside the budget is illegal. And it's the legislature that determines how much to be spent, how it should be spent. They have the power to monitor the procurement process, to monitor the results. The third mechanism are independent commissions like ICPC, EFCC, National Human Rights Commission. These ones will ensure that if anybody jumps through the internal mechanism, he jumps through the legislative scrutiny, then they will catch them. And then the fourth, how many now?
No, you've mentioned that.
I mentioned 3. Okay. The fourth mechanism is the media. The media. The Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended states that the media are the only group of people who have the constitutional responsibility to hold government to account. And then the final is citizens and civil society. So my argument is that for there to be transparency and accountability and reduction of corruption in any country, these 5 mechanisms must work. The challenge we have in Nigeria is that all of them are not working properly. Now, what can civil society do to contribute to Nigeria to have the Nigeria of our dreams? What can civil society do? Civil society have a lot of roles to play. And as a matter of fact, they have played that role over the years. The Nigerian government will have collapsed. If you take different sectors, for instance, take the health sector. For those of you who work in international development partners and civil society, but no government will have collapsed. So civil society has a lot of role to play. Now, ActionAid is formed to fight against poverty and injustice. And over the years, okay, like I stated during the keynote address, ActionAid was formed in 1972. They started work in India and Kenya. And in 1974, they increased into Gambia and Rwanda. But at that time, it was service delivery. In 1999, just at the time that ActionAid Nigeria was being set up, they changed their strategy to rice-based approach. And the main focus of rice-based approach is policy influence. And we learned that to influence policy, you do evidence-based advocacy. But let's be real. Does evidence-based advocacy lead to adoption of new policy by this Nigerian government? So, over the past 25 years, we have learned that there are certain drivers of change in any society. We need citizens, you need to focus on law, you need to focus on the constitution. Over the years, we have learned that evidence-based advocacy alone cannot bring any change. So if you are not doing evidence-based advocacy, fine. We have learned what kind of advocacy can bring results. Now there has to be an advocacy with a coalition of forces. Now you have people supporting from government, media, civil society, and a group of people. We have learned that evidence-based advocacy alone cannot change. We have learned that the way forward is social movement organizing. For people to come and change any society, you move through 3 phases. The first phase is awareness. You know how bad things have become. And you have a commitment that, look, if we continue business as usual, not only us, but our children and grandchildren will suffer. That is the level of awareness. Then you move to the level of consciousness, where you know that, yes, I can do something about what is happening to bring about change. And then the highest level is a level of organizing for change. In Nigeria, we are not at the level of awareness. Everyone knows how useless the ruling elite are. Everyone knows that they are the cause of our problem. Everyone knows that there is a possibility of improvement. But the challenge is organizing for change. If you followed what happened, the protests in Kenya and the protests in Nigeria, you will see the difference. If only you look at the demands from Kenya and the demands from Nigeria, you see the difference. The difference is that Nigerian protests were passionate, but they don't know how to organize protests. And so, the results will not be meaningful. This is where ActionAid come in. And I've had several discussions with Andrew. Don't even want to be in front. Focus on building capacity for social movement organizing. If you have donor funds, yes, do what they require. But all your, how do you call that for lady? Flexible form. Commit them to building movement, building capacity, produce materials. I participated in a demonstration in Scotland in 2005. Before we get this leaflet on how to behave. Training on demonstration. Teach people how society changes. So that they know that a few tweets, a few workshops, a few demonstrations cannot change society. Let them know that changing society is not 100 meters, it's a marathon. Teach them to know that society can change either from evolution or revolution. Don't hide anything from there. Teach them the French Revolution, teach them the Bolshevik Revolution, teach them the Industrial Revolution. Simplify them. Put them in infographics. Put them on the internet. Mobilize the entire country. You will be shocked what will happen in the next 10 years. My prayer is that we'll be alive to see. Thank you, God.